Not sure whether people actually believed that inheritance tax might be abolished, but I have had an increasing number of conversations about it since the budget. The budget in which, despite all the rumours beforehand, nothing actually happened. I don't think it was ever actually likely to, and not much has actually happened ever to change inheritance tax. Well, not quite true. George Osborne, despite all the austerity damage he did make some positive changes. He brought in the inheritable nil rate band, which means that husbands and wives can add the allowance of the first one of them to die to their own. He also brought in the main residence nil rate band, which gives a bigger allowance towards the value of your home, and all of these things helped. What hasn't helped is the fact that most of these allowances have been frozen for many years. Some have actually not changed at all since inheritance tax was invented in 1986. The amount you can give away as a present, £250 per person, for instance, or the annual allowance of £3,000 that you can give away and be immediately outside of your estate for inheritance tax. And no index linking for the nil rate band, as it's called, which for most married couples who own their own home means that you can have a total wealth, including your house, of £1 million before you pay IHT, as it's generally called, has been frozen for some time. Now, that £1 million decomplicates things considerably, but it comes with many provisos. But what applies to most people we talk to is that generally a large part of what they have is actually not liable to inheritance tax. However, it's not hard to go over that limit if you've got some savings and a house in, say, London or the Cotswolds. So, what can you do about it if you want to do something about it? Well, here's a bullet point list, and all of the bullet points, as you might expect, have a lot more to them, but hopefully this might give you a flavour of the main things we talk about or can do to help. So, number one, give money or property or investments away to your family and live for 7 years. Not always easy. Well, the living 7 years isn't always easy. Or if you live longer, knowing whether you might need the money for care costs, for instance, or to live on isn't easy. Now, many people ask about setting up trusts and whether that helps, and the answer for most is no. It can just make things more complicated and perhaps expensive. Bullet point number 2, invest in smaller companies. Small enough not to qualify for the main stock market index, and that can be anything from your own one-man company, up as far as what's called the AIM, or the Alternative Investment Market. Now, if you hold those shares for 2 years or more, they qualify for what's called business property relief from inheritance tax. They are small companies, so they're much riskier than the normal sort of portfolio which we'd probably recommend. And therefore, they're not for everyone, and certainly not for all of your money generally. But if you have a lot, you can put a bit in, and if you're in a hurry, well, a 2-year wait is better than 7 years, which you have to wait for stuff you've given away. Number 3, see a solicitor, sort out your will, and include some gifts to charities. If your family can afford for you to give at least 10% of what you have, or if you have no children perhaps, or other family to give it to, then the amount of inheritance tax you pay will be reduced. Last but not least, although lately it's often overlooked and has been least, is life insurance. If you set up a policy which, for a husband and wife, pays out when the last of you goes, and put it in trust, which would be normal practice, then the amount that's paid out, the sum assured, is free of inheritance tax. It has to be a whole life policy, so it's still there when you both go. And the amount that's paid out can then be used to pay the tax. What you're doing is effectively paying the tax at a discount. because almost certainly you'll pay less in premiums over the rest of your joint lives than the policy will pay out. Now, for some people, just one of those 4 bullet points will sort everything out. I saw some others just this week who will probably need all 4. Key recommendation: if it's something that worries you, don't leave it too late. Or, well, it could be too late.